April 3, 1944, 1:47 hours, North Atlantic Ocean. The wind cuts across the deck like a blade, not a dramatic gale, not a storm, just that relentless, damp Atlantic cold that seeps through wool uniforms, gloves, bone. The kind of cold that doesn't announce itself loudly, it just stays, patient, waiting for you to slow down. Below deck, deep inside the steel belly of the ship, a single red bulb glows above a cramped radio compartment. The air smells of warm circuitry, oil, and stale coffee that went cold hours ago. 17-year-old seaman second class Tommy Hale sits slumped forward in his chair. His chin has fallen to his chest. The headphones are still on. The radio receiver hums softly, a low, constant whisper of static and distant Morse chatter from across the ocean. Dot, dash, dot. Somewhere out there, convoys move in darkness. Somewhere, German U-boats hunt. And Tommy Hale is asleep. Not just asleep, snoring. It's quiet at first, barely noticeable. A soft, uneven rasp escaping between breaths. The kind you'd expect from a boy who should still be worrying about school exams, not enemy submarines. Tommy has been awake for nearly 20 hours. His shift started before sunset. He told himself he'd stay sharp. He always did. He was proud of that. Proud that at 17, he'd earned his radioman's patch. Proud that the Navy trusted him with a headset and a codebook instead of a mop. But the North Atlantic doesn't care about pride. The chair is uncomfortable. The compartment is warm. The hum of the equipment is hypnotic. And slowly, dangerously, his eyes closed. Now the mistake is happening. You can almost feel it. That awful, creeping moment when responsibility slips away without permission. Tommy's snore grows louder, just enough to echo faintly through the metal corridor outside the radio room. A pair of boots stop. Petty Officer Frank Donovan, 32, veteran of 2 convoy runs and 1 torpedo scare, pauses mid-step. He frowns. On a ship at war, any unexpected sound is wrong. Donovan leans closer to the radio room door. The snoring continues. His jaw tightens. He opens the door. Inside, he finds exactly what he feared, and something worse. The radio man is out cold. Headphones still connected. Receiver active. Donovan lunges forward and shakes Tommy hard. Jesus Christ, kid! Tommy jerks awake, eyes wide, heart hammering. His hands scramble for the controls instinctively. I'm sorry, petty officer. I didn't mean. Donovan cuts him off with a raised hand. Quiet. They listen. At first, there's only the radio's hiss. Then, faint, almost buried beneath the static, something else. A rhythmic clicking. Slow, deliberate. Morse code. Donovan's eyes lock onto Tommy's. You hear that? Tommy swallows and nods, suddenly wide awake. Yes, sir. The signal is weak. Very weak. Whoever is transmitting doesn't want to be heard. Short bursts. Long pauses. The kind of transmission a submarine commander might risk only for a critical message. Donovan motions sharply. Log it. Now. Tommy snaps into motion, adrenaline wiping away the last trace of sleep. His pencil scratches across the logbook as he listens, translating in real time. The message is fragmented, incomplete, but one word comes through clearly. Wolf. Tommy's stomach drops. Wolfpack. German U-boats, rarely hunted alone anymore. They worked in coordinated groups, stalking Allied convoys like wolves circling prey. One boat would spot a convoy, radio its position, and the others would close in for a coordinated night attack. Tommy looks up. Sir, this could be. I know what it could be, Donovan says grimly. He grabs the compartment phone and calls the bridge. Within minutes, the ship's atmosphere changes. You feel it instantly, the subtle shift from routine tension to something sharper. Dangerous. Orders are passed in low voices. Lookouts double their scans. Sonar operators strain to separate phantom echoes from real threats. Above deck, the convoy plows onward through black water, unaware how close death might be. And deep inside the ship, Tommy sits frozen at his station. Because now the truth is settling in. If Donovan hadn't heard that snore, if that door hadn't opened, that message would have slipped by unnoticed. No alert, no warning. For transport ships nearby carry over 400 men, sailors, engineers, medics, heading toward the European theater. Some joke on deck, some write letters, some sleep peacefully, trusting the ocean and the Navy to protect them. They have no idea how fragile that protection just proved to be. Tommy's hands tremble. He realizes something terrifying. His mistake, the one that could have ended his career, maybe landed him in a brig, might have just saved every single one of them. But the night isn't over. The signal cuts off abruptly. Silence floods the headphones. Donovan exhales slowly. Either they spotted us, he says, or they're already out there. He turns to Tommy. Kid, if you miss anything now. I won't, Tommy says quickly. Too quickly. Because deep down, he knows the real danger hasn't passed. It's only just beginning. Somewhere beneath the waves, steel hulls are moving into position, and the boy who fell asleep on duty is about to discover the true cost of being awake at war. The headphones feel heavier now. Tommy adjusts them slightly, not because they're uncomfortable, but because he needs to do something with his hands. The static crackles softly, like distant whine through dead leaves. Every hiss sounds like a threat. Every pause feels loaded. Above him, steel groans as the ship cuts through the Atlantic swells. The convoy maintains its formation. Far below the surface, U-boat U-758 glides silently through black water. Its captain, Captain Lieutenant Ernst Vogel, peers through the periscope for only seconds at a time. Long looks get you killed. Allied escorts are faster now, smarter, better equipped. But Vogel is patient. He's done this before. He's already seen the convoy, counted the ships, estimated their speed. He knows what they're carrying: men, fuel, ammunition, targets that matter. Earlier, he risked a brief transmission to alert the rest of his wolfpack. Now he waits. Back on the surface, the convoy's escorts begin subtle maneuvers. One destroyer peels slightly outward, sonar pinging softly. Ping, ping, the sound rolling down into the depths like a probing finger. The ocean answers with echoes, some real, some lies. Tommy's radio remains quiet, too quiet. You can almost feel the tension stretching, like a rope pulled tighter with every passing second. Somewhere, someone will make a move, and when they do, there will be no undoing it. Then, a mistake. Not Tommy's. Another transmission cracks through the static, stronger this time, louder, longer. Whoever is sending it is either desperate or careless. Tommy's pencil freezes midword. The signal is encoded. It's raw, unencrypted. German. Donovan stiffens. That's them, he mutters. That's a commander talking too long. Tommy translates quickly, heart racing. Convoy altered course. Escorts active. Attack postponed. Regroup south. Donovan doesn't wait for the rest. He's already on the phone to the bridge, voice urgent but controlled. The escorts react immediately. This is the opening they needed. A German commander transmitting too long is a gift. Radio direction finders can triangulate a position within minutes, maybe less. On one of the destroyers, an officer marks a bearing on the chart. Another bearing comes in. They intersect. Contact, someone says quietly. The destroyer turns hard, engines roaring as it breaks formation. Depth charge crews rush to their stations. Metal cylinders are rolled into place, fuses set. Below the waves, Vogel realizes his error too late. The sonar pings grow louder, faster. He orders a dive, deeper, sharper. But the ocean has layers, and sound travels strangely here. The escorts are closer than he expected. The first depth charge explodes. The shockwave slams through U-758's hull like a giant hammer. Lights flicker, gauges rattle. Men grab for handholds as the boat shudders. Another explosion. Closer. Back in the radio room, Tommy hears none of this. But he feels it anyway, in the tightening of his chest, in the way Donovan grips the edge of the desk. Because they both know something now. The wolfpack has been disrupted, but not destroyed. Other U-boats are still out there, listening, watching, adjusting, and the convoy is still moving through open water. Tommy wipes sweat from his brow and leans closer to the receiver. If another signal comes through, even a whisper, he has to catch it, because next time, there may not be a warning. And somewhere in the dark, another commander is deciding whether tonight is the night to strike. The first explosion doesn't reach the convoy. Not as sound, not directly. It reaches them as feeling. A subtle shudder through the hull. A vibration underfoot so faint most of the men topside don't even register it. A few look around, confused. One sailor grips the rail a little tighter. Another pauses mid-sentence, then shrugs it off. Only those who have felt it before know what it means. Depth charges. Below deck, the destroyer's engines scream as it circles its target. Sonar pings accelerate. Ping, ping, ping. Each one sharper, closer, more certain. Inside U-758, Captain Lieutenant Vogel stands braced against the periscope column as the lights flicker again. Dust drifts down from the overhead piping. One of the younger sailors crosses himself without realizing he's doing it. Depth? Vogel snaps. 80 meters and falling. Trim the bow down. Silent running. The engines are cut to a whisper. Every man freezes. No talking. No unnecessary movement. Even breathing feels too loud. Another explosion rocks the boat. Closer this time. Valves rattle. A gauge needle jumps, then steadies. Somewhere aft, water sprays briefly from a compromised seal before a crewman clamps it shut with shaking hands. Vogel's jaw tightens. This was not supposed to happen. Above the surface, the convoy continues on, still unaware how narrowly it's skirting disaster. The transports carry on through the dark like blind giants, trusting their escorts to fight unseen battles on their behalf. Back in the radio compartment, Tommy feels like time has slowed. Every second stretches. His eyes burn. His back aches. He doesn't move. The static breathes in his ears. Then, faint, distorted, almost swallowed by noise, a transmission slips through. Not German. English. Tommy blinks. "Petty officer," he whispers. Donovan leans in. The message is brief, tight, professional. "Escort Echo 3 engaging submerged contact. Possible second contact bearing 160. Tommy's heart jumps. Second contact. Another U-boat. Donovan swears under his breath. He relays it to the bridge, and within moments the tone of the ship changes again. This time, it's sharper, more urgent. The easy confidence of earlier maneuvers is gone, because now it's clear. The wolfpack isn't retreating, it's adapting. Below the waves, another submarine, U-264, slows its approach. Its commander has heard the explosions, felt them through the water like distant thunder. He knows one of his own is being hunted. He also knows this is an opportunity. While the escorts focus on one target, another can slip closer. He orders a course change. Torpedo crews ready their weapons in silence. Back on the convoy's destroyer, sonar struggles to separate echoes. One contact fades, another sharpens. The ocean becomes a maze of reflections and false returns. And in the middle of it all sits a 17-year-old boy with a pencil and a headset. Tommy hears something no one else does. Not a transmission. A pattern. A rhythm in the static that doesn't belong. A repetition just slightly too precise to be natural interference. He leans closer, eyes narrowing. There again. A burst. Short. Short. Long. It's not a full message. It's a handshake. A test signal. Someone is checking to see who's listening. Tommy's pulse pounds. "Sir," he says quietly. "They're probing." Donovan doesn't ask how he knows. "Direction?" Tommy closes his eyes for half a second, isolating the sound, angling it in his mind the way they taught him. "South-southeast," he says. "Deeper than the last one." Donovan is already moving, already calling it in. This time, the response is immediate. A second escort breaks off from the convoy, engines roaring as it swings wide. Sonar pings scatter outward like thrown stones. Below, aboard U-264, the commander hears it. He curses softly. The water around him is alive now. Noise everywhere. Active sonar sweeping, searching, closing. He has seconds to decide. Attack now, or disappear. He chooses wrong. He orders tubes flooded, and in doing so, gives himself away. The sonar return sharpens like a blade. Above, depth-charge crews don't hesitate. The first pattern goes in, then the second. Explosions ripple through the depths, overlapping shockwaves slamming into the submarine's hull. Inside U-264, lights die completely. Men are thrown to the deck. Tools fly. Someone screams. Water pours in. The commander knows it's over. Back on the convoy ship, the vibration is stronger this time. Unmistakable. Even the uninitiated feel it. Tommy stares at his receiver, breath shallow. The static surges, then settles. Silence. Minutes pass. No transmissions. No probing signals. Nothing. Donovan slowly removes his cap and runs a hand through his hair. "They're gone," he says quietly. "Either sunk or scared off." Tommy doesn't respond. Because something else is happening now. The adrenaline is fading. The exhaustion is rushing back in. And for the first time, he realizes just how close he came, how close they all came, to never hearing those signals at all. If he'd slept just a few minutes longer. If Donovan hadn't heard that snore. Tommy swallows hard. The realization hits like a delayed shockwave. 400 lives. Hanging on a sound no one was supposed to hear. And somewhere in the wreckage below, the ocean is already closing over the evidence. Dawn comes slowly. Not as a sunrise, not as a moment of beauty, but as a thinning of darkness. The black sky turns charcoal, then a dull gray. The horizon appears as a smudge where sea and air finally separate. The convoy is still moving. Still intact. Engines drone steadily as if nothing happened at all. For the men who slept through the night, it feels like just another morning at sea. They stretch, light cigarettes, sip coffee that tastes like metal and salt. A few complain about the cold. They don't know how close they came. Below deck, Tommy Hale hasn't moved from his chair. His eyes are bloodshot. His fingers are stiff around the pencil he never put down. He doesn't realize his leg has been bouncing for the last 10 minutes. The radio remains quiet. Too quiet. Silence after combat is never comforting. It's suspicious. It makes you listen harder, straining for threats that may or may not exist. Donovan stands behind him, arms crossed, staring at the receiver like it might come back to life at any moment. Bridge confirms, he finally says. No further contacts. Escorts report debris, oil slick. Tommy exhales, a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. They got at least one, maybe two, but that relief doesn't feel clean. It's heavy, complicated, because now there's time to think. Later that morning, the captain calls for a brief report. Donovan does the talking. He's careful with his words, professional, precise. But when the captain's eyes flick to Tommy, something shifts. How old are you, son? 17, sir. A pause. The captain nods slowly. You did your job. That's it. No speech. No ceremony. War doesn't do those in real time. Tommy nods back, unsure how to respond. His throat is tight. He expects something else. Reprimand. A warning. Maybe even charges for sleeping on watch. Regulations are clear. Falling asleep on duty can end careers. Or lives. But nothing comes. Instead, he's quietly ordered off watch. When he finally reaches his bunk, the exhaustion hits like a wave. He lies down fully clothed. The ship hums around him. And still, sleep won't come. Every time he closes his eyes, he hears it again. The static, the clicks, the faint German words cutting through the noise. He smells oil and metal. Feels the deck vibrate under his feet. He sees a door opening. He hears himself snoring. That's the part that won't let go. Days later, after the convoy reaches safer waters, word spreads, quietly, unofficially. Sailors talk. Officers exchange looks. Someone mentions that a wolfpack attack was avoided, that a radioman caught something early. They don't mention his age. They don't mention the mistake. Just that 400 men kept moving east instead of sinking into the Atlantic. Years pass. The war moves on. Louder battles replace quieter ones. Bigger names dominate headlines. Normandy, Ardennes, Berlin. Tommy finishes the war older than his years, like all of them. He never forgets that night. Never jokes about falling asleep again. Never takes the headset lightly. And he never tells the full story. Because how do you explain that your worst moment, the one that could have ended everything, became the reason so many others lived? After the war, records are filed away, logs yellow, names fade. But the truth remains buried in after-action reports and sonar charts, and a single radio log that shows a few extra lines written at 1:47 hours. A mistake, a snore, a door opening at exactly the right moment. 400 lives continuing forward. History doesn't always turn on heroics. Sometimes it turns on accidents, on human weakness, on a boy too tired to keep his eyes open, and a sound no enemy could ever plan for.